This is going to be a different method of breathing and of reprogramming the brain. Because when we're going up the 5 keys to health, we hit nerve supply, movement. The diet's simple. It's just a human being. We're hitting sleep, but now emotions. That can somebody say something to you that causes you hurt and damage? Or do you have to accept it? Okay, every time I give a talk on the lack of science behind certain medical interventions, and I say, you really should question what you're doing to yourself. And people will say, baby killer, you're against that scientific procedure. I said, no, I'm just looking for science. So I don't go after them and hear that they're calling me a baby killer. That doesn't make sense. So it's really based on your perception. So changing your mind's view of the world is the key. Now, this is part of a talk I gave in Paris in September, and it's from the Heart Math Institute, but we're going to learn a lot about the heart, the brain, and your immune system. And so how do we change your emotional state? Well, when you know that anxiety, stress, depression, impulse control, everything are features of this frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe gets its information from the position and motion of the vertebrae. So if you have abnormal position and motion, you have abnormal stimulation. And so when you see a human body that should be straight, that's off to the side, this is abnormal stimulus to the brain. So when we talk about the physical stressors, that is a major one. When we look at the brain and its nutrients, because this is where anxiety, stress, depression, impulse control, all that stuff are from. And when you have a stress state, physical, chemical, emotional, your immune system is weak, the blood pressure and cholesterol, cancer rates go up, bowel function goes down. All of this stuff is an intelligent response based on that. That's why when we talk about physical, chemical, emotional, but they're all the same. They have the same effect on the body. So when you look at this, symmetrical movements, we do this to every patient in between adjustments, stimulation of the brain. So if you have a chronic state of stress, like let's say you're frustrated with your sweetheart, or you're frustrated with work, or you're frustrated with something, and you go home to the same environment, you're going to have the same stimulus. So if you've had a chronic illness or chronic state of stress, we say, look, move the furniture, paint the room, go to a different environment, because you already know that if you sit in the same chair that you would always sit in when you're depressed or tired at the end of the day, you're going to get the same stimulus. Just like if you smell baked bread, and have you ever smelled that baked bread? And then you get all that anxiety because your grandmother beat you with the bread? Okay, no. But so it depends on the environment. So look at the environment. Okay, chemical, sleep patterns. If you want to induce anxiety, stress, and depression, if you want to induce craziness, get poor sleep patterns. If you know that 50% of the brain is fat, and you take unhealthy fats from the fast food, unhealthy deep fried corn oil, soy, canola oil, cottonseed oil, the toxic poisonous oils, that will negatively affect your brain, and that's going to cause anxiety. Multiple studies show that people that eat fast food, I was walking down Sukhumvit, going to meet my friend at a vegetarian restaurant, and they actually had some good veggies, all organic. They have some good meats, all organic. And I'm passing by this guy that goes into McDonald's. And I go, you're in Thailand, the food capital of the world. You're getting freaking McDonald's? Okay, unhealthy fats can cause brain damage. Breathing, we're going to learn a lot about breathing today. And then emotion. Now, one thing, if you've had a chronic state of stress from chronic bad relationships or job or work or whatever, your brain has gotten good at that. In fact, when you're understanding that when you're in a stress state, and you can develop a stress state. Does anyone have a cell phone? I know, everybody. Okay, how would you like to look at all of the trauma going on through the world? China and Taiwan, okay, the Gaza Strip, You look at Arab conflicts. You look at the war in Ukraine. You look at the poverty in this country and that country. You can constantly feed your mind with anxiety and stress, and you'll get better at it. You'll be able to achieve that. Just like if you practice tennis 5, 6, 7 hours a day, you get better at it. If you practice anxiety and stress, you get better at it. But also, if you practice joy and love, you get better at it. So you can reprogram it. Change the input, change what you put in the body. The old saying, there was a Native American grandson and grandfather, and the grandfather was imparting wisdom. And he said, there's two wolves always fighting for the soul of a man and woman. Okay. And one's evil, one's good. And when you look at this, the people that have survived prison camps, Alexander Solzhenitsyn survived the Gulag. Okay. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz. These people that were being tortured all to nearly the point of death, they said, there is no bad people. Everybody has evil and good in them. And so when this grandfather told this grandchild that everyone has an evil wolf and a good wolf, always fighting for the soul, the little kid says, well, which one wins? The one you feed. So if you want to develop anxiety and stress, keep feeding your mind that. Be aware of this. And then schedule time for yourself. A lot of people are pulled in multiple directions. You've got family, you've got work responsibilities, you've got health responsibilities. And so when I tell people, look, you have to schedule time for yourself. Does that add stress or add stress? Anybody with me on that one? Yeah, I don't have time to schedule for myself. Okay, dude, chill. It's okay. So I'm going to give you an exercise that you can do while you're driving in traffic. Okay. And this is, you don't even need a driver. You could be driving along and doing this exercise, and that will be time for yourself. And then read Nonviolent Communication. That's one of the greatest books. Look this up. And I sent everybody during our consultations, I send everybody a copy of this book, and I encourage you to look at it, because this is one of the methods. If somebody says something to you and it offends you, or it hurts your feelings, or anything else, it's not actually what was said. It's how you perceive it. And I teach this method for all of my doctors, because let's say you get, a 65-year-old contractor, he's been beat up, run over, everything else. He's got pain, been to a dozen doctors, and he's seeing you for the second visit. And he says, doc, I still hurt. Okay, if you hear that, you're going to say, as a doctor, you're going to say, no shit, you should. You've been hurting for a long time. Just shut up. You're going to get better. But if you hear beyond the words what the guy is really telling you, doc, I still hurt. What he's really saying is, doc, I'm so scared. I've been to every doctor. I just need assurance. So not listening to the words, listening beyond the words. Okay, listen to the meaning of their heart. And then you get that heart-to-heart connection. And listen, that's a skill set. And then feed your mind. And that's what we're going to start with, feeding your mind and reprogramming. The brain on the heart, if you know that the heart-brain connection is huge, that the vagus nerve is one of the nerves that supplies the heart, 90% of its function is to communicate to the brain. If you look over here, the heart rate and rhythm, it's also a hormone-producing organ. The heart can produce oxytocin, which is the love hormone, the feeling. So if we can get this heart activated, it's the better. When we talk about sympathetic and parasympathetic, that the body only has 2 switches, you can be in stress or regeneration. So if you want to develop disease, if you want to develop brain damage, stay in stress. If you want to develop healthy body, get this in balance so your body can be active and regenerative. So we need that balance. When you look down below this, the heart sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And when we're talking about thyroid function, we're talking about the pituitary, adrenal, hypothalamus axis. Here it is again. So the vagus nerve travels medulla, hypothalamus, amygdala, cerebral cortex. The heart secretes neurotransmitters. The heart manufactures and secretes oxytocin, which is the love hormone. Who needs more love? All of us. Okay. So just know when you're doing this, and I'm going to walk you through a visualization. Now, everybody knows diaphragmatic breathing. Breathe in, the tummy comes out, you blow out, tummy comes in. But what I want you to think about, and I'm going to walk you through this meditation, think of the earth. Like when you see a picture of the earth, and there's an electromagnetic field going from pole to pole, and that electromagnetic field protects us, but it's literally an energy. And there's actually multiple mappings of the energy of the body. There's multiple chakra points, okay, that have been around for thousands of years. But what I want you to do is pick the heart energy center. So we're going to do the diaphragmatic breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. You're also going to move your tummy. The tummy is going to come out when you breathe in when you blow out. But I want you to visualize the heart opening up and the air coming into your heart and out of the heart, because the heart, it is an emotion producing organ, a hormone producing organ, communicates to the brain. So if we can expand that heart, and if you're thinking about breathing through the heart, you're expanding your chest. You're also expanding the diaphragm. So this is a different way to breathe. But the more you visualize that coming into the heart, you're expanding the cavity that heart is in. You're expanding the chest cavity because that heart is located in the ribs that are protected. So heart breathing, imagine breathing in through the heart and out, in and out, and that'll expand this. Now that's part of it, first part. The second part is we have to change the brain. So if I talk about Palestine, Gaza Strip, Ukraine, crazy conflicts around the world, okay, or I could talk about your relatives, your business, whatever. Any of those triggers, and then your brain fires in loops because your brain has around 90,000 thoughts a day. Problem is 95% of those thoughts are the same you had the day before. So by feeding your mind constant stress, by thinking about the old relationship or the old job or the old this or the old that, or the relative that's not being successful or making bad choices, or the child that's doing that, okay? You're feeding and programming your brain for stress. So now I want to walk you through how to program your brain for joy. And this is a tough exercise. And I'm going to tell you what my wife, Sarah, did and what I did. So I was walking through this guided meditation. A friend was doing it. Lights are down low. And they said, think about a time of joy, of utter joy in your life. And I was thinking about it, and it was hard. I'm used to solving problems. I'm used to getting stuff done. But to think about a moment of joy, that's not a skill I've developed. Okay, survival? Shit, yeah, I'm good at. Okay, but to think about that moment of joy. So I had to start thinking. And I thought of when I was 5 years old, my mom gave me a birthday party and we all dressed up. That was cool. Then I thought about me hiking with the YMCA in the mountains, and I could, kind of smell the pine trees, and I felt strong. Then I thought after my dad died, how I was working in the construction, how I liked the strength and the camaraderie and the respect and the love and the joy and the energy. So I'm getting all of these feelings, and I started to think, hey, I feel pretty good. My brain's working really good. And so after about 10 minutes of this guided meditation, I was able to start to achieve that. And because I went from some events, then I started to think about my Sarah, some really cool stuff with her. And I started to go back when I was a teenager. Then, so all the different stages of your life, those moments of joy, okay, start thinking what it was like, what it feels like. Now, I was asking Sarah, and Sarah doesn't think she's a master, but she is. And I said, where did you go, dear? And she was all of a sudden 7 years old, sitting on a concrete stoop in Pakistan. They were preparing for a feast. So she had these beautiful smells. She was describing the coldness of the concrete. This cat, stray cat, walked over, curled up on her lap, and she was describing the softness of the cat and the smell and the colors. God damn, you're genius. You're literally transporting your mind to a different place in time. You get the sights, the smells, and the sounds. You could see when she's telling me this, she goes from this body posture to this body posture, and you could just tell that she's experiencing it right now. I was talking to one of our patients, and I was saying, pick a moment of joy, something. And she said, being in Sweden. And I'm thinking, Sweden, you get that sweet pine smell, you get the coolness of the air, you get the camaraderie, maybe the fire in the fireplace, all the cool stuff of the mountains. And so what I want you to do right now, and you could close your eyes or leave them open, think about a moment of joy that you've had in your life. And it could be a child, it could be childhood, teenage years, adult years. It could be last night with whoever you were with. God bless you. But a moment of joy where you felt that connection, that oneness. You weren't worried about anything. You were just experiencing that moment. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? Is it cold? Or is it warm? Are you laying on the beach? Are you with friends? Are you with family? Are you by yourself? Okay, hiking in the mountains. Are you learning stuff? Are you at school being inspired? Are you listening to music at a concert? Are you in a kitchen cooking? I mean, what inspires you? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? What was it like? And then imagine that feeling. And now, while you're imagining that feeling, take a deep breath in, but expand your chest cavity. Imagine that air going in through your heart, and then exhale. Breathe in that love and that joy and that moment. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And while you're doing the gentle breathing in and gentle breathing out, picture that love and that joy going into that heart. Feel that chest cavity expand and that heart start to beat. Joy and love, and feel what does it feel like in that brain? What is the connection like? How does it feel different? How does your chest feel lighter? Is it breathing easier? And walk through exactly what you can. And you may start with one thought, you may jump to another. You may go from being taken care of by your friends to going out fishing with your uncle. You may go to a birthday party. You may be, dressed up beautiful and going out to a fancy party. I actually had a friend that said she was thinking about shopping. She loves shopping. So anything that you want, but practice this. And this is something you can't drive with your eyes closed, but you can practice it. Because if you're going to feed your mind with anxiety, stress, and internet, if you're going to feed it with love and adventure, you're going to get the result. You're programming your mind. So consciously feed your mind. So that relative cannot say anything to you that would hurt you. It has to be on your perception. So doing the heart math breathing, do the visualization, practice this. Let me see, should you practice it once a month or daily? Jim Rohn has said self-motivation, and that's what this is. You are motivating yourself. Self-motivation is done best like bathing. Should be done daily. Does that make sense? Any questions? Practice it, get better at it, and you're going to develop an armor that'll protect you from the anxiety and stress of this world. Kapung Krap, thank you very much.